I should take these off. These are for a different bit that I'm not doing yet. Get off. Um, Hi, my name is Zoya. I'm a homeschooled aspiring physicist hoping to one day work at CERN, and I am currently in a closet for an amazing reason. That being that I wanted a background for this video other than my usual PowerPoint slides. I'm on a healing journey. Anyways, today I'll be talking about this year's arXiv joke papers. arXiv is very nice and lets scientists have fun for one day out of the entire year. I will be ranking and reviewing the papers across metrics I mostly borrowed, those being objective humor, scrumptiousness slash texture, frolic, woe slash dread, and commitments to the bit. Now, you may be asking what qualifications I have to be doing this, judging objective humor. That seems like something you would only entrust to someone whose sense of humor you agree with. Um, my qualifications are A to B ones. That's enough, I think. My humor falls into this like 2014 Tumblr-esque I'm so random kind of thing, which is also why I'm wearing cat ears now. Are my bangs messed up? No. Okay. All right. So for those who somehow do not know what arXiv is, or about to realize they do know what arXiv is and are going to get mad at my pronunciation in the comments, arXiv is a scientific paper preprint archive. Basically a place where science people can upload their science papers and other science people can read said papers basically after only a couple days, in contrast to scientific journals, which can take like a year to publish research due to this wonderful thing called peer review. Yeah, arXiv isn't peer-reviewed, which is why it mostly focuses on sciences that don't matter much. It can only kill people relatively slowly, such as physics and they have finance? That's cool. arXiv is, at its core, an archive that anybody can access, and if you're nerdy enough, even upload to. One may even say this makes it an archive of our own. Also, it's technically pronounced archive, not arxiv, because the X is a Greek letter chi. But if I said archive, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. This general lack of supervision, beyond making sure there's like no slurs or anything, is what allows for the great phenomenon at the center of this video. That being the April Fool's papers, identified either directly by having April Fools in the comments to the paper or by the authors claiming it was submitted to Acta Prima Aprilia. I don't speak Latin, so you're just gonna have to forgive me for how I pronounce Acta Prima Aprilia throughout this video. Yeah, okay. Which is a fictional journal made up by the arcs of nerds in an attempt to have fun. It's really interesting watching smart people try to have fun. I mean, they say ignorance is bliss, and honestly, I think this might be the closest we have to concrete proof. So, how is this going to go? There will be a paragraph where I talk about what the paper is, and then a paragraph where I explain why I gave the paper specific metrics, specific rankings for specific metrics. And there will be a leaderboard somewhere on the screen. I don't know. I didn't think this through, but it's gonna be somewhere, presumably, unless I forget, in which case there's not gonna be a leaderboard. You know, we ball. So anyways, the first paper, which is going to be somewhere up here, as I said, hype moments in aura. Hype moments in aura. Pegasi Ascendant ranking constellation genitives on their aesthetic merits by, should I even try? Pranav Nagarajan. These are gonna get more complicated. Yeah. So this first paper lives on the intersection of astronomy and, fascinatingly enough, linguistics. It attempts to answer the question of how we should attribute things to constellations, what their genitive case should be. Now, I understand we're all English speakers here, so cases might be a little bit unfamiliar to us. Um, just imagine verb endings, but for nouns. Does that send a chill down your spine? It should. Um, Yeah, the author interviewed a bunch of people asking them what genitives they liked and didn't like. Also, funny thing is grad students got lumped in with the professionals because they've like suffered enough. I don't know, I think that's endearing. Um, Also, me explaining the metrics is going to be completely out of order for every paper because I wrote this yesterday. I wrote the script yesterday. So, you know, let's just lower the bar to the floor, hopefully. So yeah, there's not really any bit to commit to. Perhaps the fact that other researchers were interviewed goes for something, though. More so that people agreed to commit to a bit rather than the paper committing to its own bit. So I probably can't give any higher than a 2. This is basically just that, though, a survey, and as any theoretical physics enthusiast will tell you, statistics as a subject is the bane of our existence. So, like, 4 whoa. Only because this was the first paper and I didn't have enough behind me to dread reading it. This isn't something that's been done before though, so I'm forced to give it 5 frolic. Presumably because the author went outside at least once. I have a bone to pick with the humor, though. I know that Tumblr is nowadays overrun with millennials, but you cannot tell me this passage, and this is about Gruss and Gruus. Perhaps this constellation would have ranked much higher if I used abbreviations in the survey instead. After all, Gru is much more recognizable to fans of the Despicable Me franchise. Doesn't make you groan a little bit. It's pretentious. It's millennial humor. Two humor and two texture at that. That was hard to read. Figure 2 did not need to take up a whole page, and that contributes to the texture ranking too. Um, so I'm kind of like split screening everything. What does the universe sound like? Is our next paper by Francesco Iacovelli? Iacovelli? Question mark. Um, Yeah, this one's about the sound that the universe makes, which is already making me incredibly happy. I love when information becomes tangible. I think that's pretty cool. It takes the gravitational wave signals and ups their frequency so that we can actually hear them and produces this very interesting soundscape that I can only describe as if bubbles had spikes. Fascinating stuff. Um, Now, for the rankings, this paper nails the irony of self-help gurus who just want you to tune into the right frequency. I don't think that was intended, but that's what I got from it, and it was hilarious and painful at the same time. It feels like it's saying what the gurus don't dare to, such as in this passage at the start of the methodology section, let me begin by stressing that by construction, this analysis will completely depend on the choices I make for the population of CBCs in the universe. Nonetheless, my aim is to lay the foundations for a methodology that could be applied to any catalog of synthetic GW events and produce a universal soundtrack for a representative, physically motivated population choice. That's pretty neat. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so yeah, for humor and for woe. Woe is high because this is in some ways actual science, and I applaud that. All the acronyms I don't understand included, for being actual science, and also a question seemingly born out of genuine curiosity and not a desire to entertain the masses like some of these premises are. The committance to the bit is also 5 out of 5 fish. I'm ranking these in terms of fish because I'm a cat. I think that's normal. Um, I'm also hijacking my own metrics here, but texture was supposed to be called the other one, so I feel like I'm justified in this. Texture is also 5 out of 5, just for how cool the audio file sounds. And also the graphs are pretty. Like 90% of my paper selection at this point is just, are the graphs pretty? I don't have it in my background right now. I was gonna put the printed versions of the papers that I selected, but the graphs are really pretty. Like, stick around for the March recap, please. I know it's really late. Um, For the frolic, which is basically creativity slash novelty, I think a 3 is justified. Not because I think it's uncreative, but the premise was already there, like sound waves versus gravitation waves, plus cosmic latte being acknowledged makes me think some inspo was pulled there. Paper 3. We have never moved through papers so fast on this channel. Um, Paper 3 is called A Therapy Session with Sagittarius A Star by Mayura Balakrishnan et al. I'm not even gonna try. Okay, actually, those last names are fine. If I can do that, then I can do those. Whatever. This is more of a story than a research paper. They lured a bunch of therapists into a metal tube with the equivalent of cheese on a stick, which I would fall for, um, and set them into space to interview a black hole. Yes, it's as crazy as I'm making it sound. And also, they can't retrieve said therapists now, which has to be some kind of ethical violation. Anyways, as stated in the abstract, topics discussed include that plasma isn't very nutritious, Archer slander, and the fact that maybe we should have asked the black hole before sticking things at it. Like, it has privacy concerns. And I have privacy concerns for it too. Yeah. Um, for the rankings, I guess my question is why? Like, why the authors thought that this would be funny. This is one of those papers whose humor rests on the premise, which admittedly, I have to give it points for conforming to the idea of I'm so random humor. The execution is practically non-existent. Never has it been so obvious that a paper is written by adults. I feel a great rift between myself and these authors. I feel like it's written by Gen Xers. And if I'm wrong about that, I'm so sorry. But why are you watching this as the author? Is it an ego thing? Because, like, I get if it's an ego thing. I rewatch my own videos. Anyways, a 2 for humor because I think there is someone out there who would find this funny, and I'm trying to be objective. It does commit to the bit. The way Sagittarius A star is written is very voicey, so 5 fish there. And reluctantly, voiciness does also contribute to the texture slash prose metric quality. Prose quality metric. I watch book reviews in my free time because I can't read. Yeah. Unfortunately, this paper made the mistake of referencing food, which means I'm forced to go off the texture of that instead. And as confirmed by Sagittarius A star itself, the things it consumes have an awful texture. In total slash in average, 3 fish. This is also the second to last paper I read, which should speak to its woe. For woe, even though this doesn't read like a real paper, it wasn't fun. However, circling back to the attempt at I'm so random humor, I can't say I've thought of this before. So I have to give it 5 frolic there. Paper 4. Do papers with titles ending in a question mark have the answer no? By Daniel Stern and Brian Greffenstedt. These aren't as bad as I thought they would be. Anyways, I think we should bring back 1 to 2 page long papers. That's my hot take. A lot of OG quantum mechanics papers are 1 to 2 pages long, and I like that. I liked how easy they were to get through. Anyways, this paper tackles authors who want to be quirky. It tackles them to the ground, actually, and attempts to answer if papers with question marks in the title can be answered no. The answer is actually kind of inconclusive. Because even though no has the majority, it's only 39% of the total papers that have the answer no, when counting this paper as a yes too. So maybe more research needs to be done. Maybe. Probably not. Um, for the rankings, to bit or not to bit? That is the question. I had a lot of trouble figuring out if this paper commits to the bit or not because I'm not sure what the bit would be. The closest thing to a bit I can identify is the fact that this paper skews its own results by ending in a question mark and being able to answer itself yes. And for that alone, I think I'm allowed to give it a 1 for bit commitments. There's just no bit. Granted, it is pretty funny for how short it is, and I feel bad for the quote unquote old school LLM, aka the co-author, who had to read through all those papers. So I feel bad giving anything less than a 4 on humor. I feel bad giving anything less than a 4 on humor. The woe isn't as strong as one might assume, given the fact that this is a data analytics project. Either because this is again one of the first papers I read, or because it's just that short. 2 units of woe just because the results are confusing. Um, Short and sweet. As I said, I'd say it has the texture of a Mentos, which I enjoy, so full marks there. Lastly, frolic. I presume, and again, this is a completely baseless assumption, that the authors did not go outside for the duration of this research. And I have to do paper selection myself. I have to read through papers for this channel. I had to read through 21 papers for this video. I'm dying inside. Oh well. Um an admissions committee will have to watch this. I need to lock in. So yeah, I actually have a basis for my hypothesis that the authors did not go outside for the duration of this research. Hence, I cannot, in good faith, give higher than 3 frolic. The ideas were pretty creative, though. Paper 5. Let me pull it up. It's going to be on screen. I'm just pulling it up for myself. Galactic constellations in Deci DR1 at the scales of cosmological homogeneity by Claire Lamon of the Center for Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics at Ohio State University, Columbus. Um, yeah. They gave the scientists a pen and paper and let them draw. Not clickbait. Cops called. Uh, See, this is a common complaint that the ancient Greeks had no clue what they were doing when they were making up names for constellations. The ancient Greeks, however, only had access to a fraction of the information the author has access to, that being the Deci cosmological survey data. You can even draw your own constellations. I'm just saying. Nothing's stopping you. You have free will. You have free will. For the rankings, the abstract features the descriptor charming for its results, and honestly, that it is. It's a pretty cute premise, and the idea is incredibly whimsical. I mean, it's practically a connect the dots game, so right off the bat, I'm sure this deserves no less than 5 frolic. It also deserves 5 woe, though. Mostly because somebody had to sit down and create the website that people would find shapes on, and web design is woeful. I know. For a similar reason, that being outsourcing drawing the constellations, commitments on the bit is capped to a 2. The authors didn't commit to anything. The author, singular. I wrote this before I checked that there was only one author. So yeah, the author didn't commit to anything. A bunch of people did that for her. The people were pretty funny though. Fimsh. And Fimsh is what this paper deserves. Specifically 5 out of 5 Fimsh on humor. And texture too. I like pretty pictures, and this paper has pretty pictures galore. I'll also link the Constellation website below. Go look at Fimsh. Go look at Fimsh. Fimsh is nice. Um, Paper 6. I'm smiling, but I'm screaming inside. Um, this paper is titled Your Audi is a Wonderful Astronomer. Macrodata Refinement of the Astro pH arXiv feed at Fermat Industries by Yuan San Ting.
of the Department of Astronomy at Ohio State University.
Is Ohio State University running this whole operation? I never noticed that. I just started noticing these author affiliations. Is Ohio State University running this whole operation? Am I getting paid by Ohio State University? I don't think I am. Okay. I really did not want to read this paper. It talks about this severance procedure, so that one version of you, the innie, can slog through doing science, and another, the outie, can like frolic or something. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. Unfortunately, this innie that's in charge of doing science, while their outie lives as fulfilling of a life as a scientist who doesn't do science anymore can manage, is created with the help of a large language model, which is a little dystopian. But I guess I can kind of understand it might be trying to be commentary. Granted, like it's failing, but it is self-aware enough to mention OpenClaw, and unfortunately, as a former tech girly myself, that's the only thing funny in this paper. That's the only funny thing. Yeah, and that segues us really nicely into the rankings. So, this paper has creepy vibes. I don't know. The concept doesn't sit right with me. It feels more deserving to be adapted into a sci-fi short story than an April Fool's paper. And for this, you get 4 woe. Woe is more of a metric of how much I didn't want to read the paper. And granted, I did want to find out where they were going to take the concept. It's dystopian in this very particular way that I can liken to, and this is so niche, the Secretariat in Underscore's Wall Socket album lore. That's the thing that this first figure reminds me of. And I love Wall Socket, but that is not a compliment. Also, this paper uses AI graphics. Which let's not do that. Let's make a comedy slot by hand. Just for that, you're getting one frolic. Use your own creativity. If you're dedicated enough to submit an arXiv joke paper that's 15 pages long, I expect you to put in the legwork. I'm sorry. Maybe that makes me old-fashioned. Maybe that makes me old-fashioned. Um, Also, I just don't like looking at AI art. And now I'm starting to doubt if there's AI writing in here. So let's just put one for texture and move on. Unfortunately, it did make something up, hence high commitments. I'll give it a 4 there reluctantly. And also, unfortunately, I'm borrowing the woe frolic dichotomy from this paper, which according to it would give me a high malice stat. Considering I'm criticizing it while also citing to it. Okay then. Sure. It's a little bit uncool. Considering I'm literally just a news reporter. But okay. They borrowed the aesthetic of that terminology from Tumblr though, so like I'm allowing myself to do this. I'm reclaiming stolen land, okay? Anyways, it's weird in a bad way, so one humor. Sorry. I hated this. I hated this. Paper 7. Non-equilibrium stock dynamics, spontaneous symmetry breaking in the agitated wash by Ahmad Darwish, Matteo Murdaka, and Jamie J. Kinnunen. Is it Ohio University? No, it's in Finland. Okay. They're affiliated with Finland. Spontaneous symmetry breaking is one of my darling phenomena because it's the only phenomenon I actually feel like I have a grasp on. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that on the internet while I'm claiming to know what I'm saying. But I'm also not claiming to know what I'm saying, so like it's fine. This paper talks about how socks get lost in the wash through the language of particle/nuclear physics. Like it's invoking decay and the Kashmir effect of all things, which is cute, and it's calling socks quasi-particles. This figure too oddly reminds me of the phonon roton maxon graph from the January recap, but maybe I just have brain rot. Maybe I just have physics brain rot, which honestly, who doesn't? I'm only saying that to make myself feel better, but honestly, like, who doesn't? Okay. Rankings, rankings, rankings. Okay, see, the thing is, I'm biased because I'm 15 and have never had to do laundry, which is, again, not something I think I should be admitting on the internet. But this is like millennial humor. Like, it's so overdone. And at the risk of likening it to the slop that was the previous paper, I can't give it any higher a frolic than 3. Okay, actually, that makes no sense because I changed the values around. This was supposed to have a frolic of 1, but I changed it to 3 because I'm based. So actually, it's way better than the previous paper. Even if it's millennial humor, because honestly, millennial lives matter. My mom's a millennial. Millennial lives matter. Um, it does commit to the bit heavily though. Like I recognize most of this jargon from my days on particle physics Wikipedia, so I have to give it 5 fish there. Unfortunately, this jargon does make it read like a real research paper, and hence I have to hence it evokes the woe of a research paper. So like for woe. That being said, socks are warm and welcoming. I like socks. I like the texture of socks. There's probably something wrong with the way my brain is wired, but I'm giving this paper 5 texture nonetheless. And it's also not that funny beyond the premise, so I'll give it 3, just like its frolic score. Maybe I should have given it a higher frolic score because the socks are frolicking from out of the washing machine. But I'm not gonna do that. Argue with me in the comments or via email. I'll have my email in the description, my work email, because I do work. I'm employed. I'm employed. Okay, anyways, paper 8. Antimatter propulsion for interstellar travel via positron production from potassium 40 rich biological matter by C. Hall and LNHP Hall. Not Ohio. Okay, maybe Ohio isn't running this show. It'd be really funny if Ohio was running this show and I realized that while recording, though. And like, imagine. Anyways, antimatter buzzword salad, but we kind of all. This paper proposes shoving a lot of bananas into a lot of places, specifically for the purposes of relativistic interstellar travel. I'm questioning my life choices after having read that line. Like, an admissions committee will be watching this. I'm a little concerned that they'll see this. See, in addition to being full of radioactive potassium that's rotting your brain, apparently, bananas have antimatter in them, and matter-antimatter annihilation releases more energy than I care to count. Although on screen is a calculation I did on what would happen if 2 person-sized chunks of matter and antimatter annihilated, so maybe I do care. I really like being the physics nerd of my friend group because I can just pull up with stuff like this. And people like me for it. I still think people like me. I don't know. I hope people like me. I have 46 subscribers. Of course people like me. Yeah, so with enough bananas, this paper hopes that we can even meet aliens on other planets. But that's completely bananas, even by my standards. Um, For this section, I originally wrote in here that this is just bad science. I retract that statement. This is not meant to be science. It's basically a practice problem or a back of the envelope calculation. That being said, it is endearing. So for this, I give it 5 frolic. Does that feel unfair? Yes, absolutely. I'm also giving it 4 fish for Bitcoins because I think it's quite scientific processy to compare this setup for 3 different magnitudes of mass. I like that a lot. I think it's cute. A lot of things are cute. I'm cute. Um, Beyond that, though, this paper doesn't have much going for it. Considering the fact anyone with any understanding of antimatter and a search engine could probably do the same thing, I can't give it a high value of whoa. Max is like 2. Also, I feel like I forgot to mention, but woe is a positive metric. Woe is basically like realism. Woe is good. We should be depressed. I should not be saying that in a YouTube video. It's also not that funny, except for the leading section. Its humor is not imbued into the prose because it's relying on the absurdity to carry its humor. Actually, that works a little bit. I was going to give it a 1, but I see an attempt being made at so random humor, so I'll bump it up to 2. I am also once again hijacking my own metrics to say I hate the texture of bananas. This is proving my point that something is wired incorrectly with me. I'm I'm wired incorrectly. If I were a robot, I'd be Beulah screening right now. But I'm not a robot, so you're just gonna have to deal with me. Because you clicked on this video and now you can't click off because you're mesmerized by me. Banana strings can burn in hell. And we'd all be better for it. 1 for texture, and bananas still have the audacity to claim all the flavor in any smoothie they're in. Grow a spine. Yeah, okay. Paper 9, an innovative alternative to traditional funding streams for extragalactic astronomy by Stephen M. Wilkins et al. The et al. Is doing a lot. This paper proposes a cryptocurrency directly tied to how many galaxies we're aware of. And look, I'm not an expert on economics, but my mom is, which means I'm qualified. But how would that work? The value proposition is researchers getting more funding to make this coin go up, right? Because if they get funding, then they can discover more galaxies. But I feel like with the anonymity of it all, there could be a conflict of interest there. But also, why am I psychoanalyzing a joke paper? I'm kind of rethinking my life choices. I'm kind of rethinking everything right now because I'm in a closet. This is the show y'all subscribed for. I don't care. Anyways, this was a pain to read, but the Wikipedia citation made me laugh. This is social commentary on academia at its peak, and yes, that means it's getting all 5 fish this hard to read. They're proposing an ISO code. This is dire. Anyways, from a frolic standpoint, this is heavy on tech bro culture, but in a very tongue-in-cheek way. I mean, there's this like footnote that I'm gonna put on screen. They're not serious because I can't find it for some reason. Can I find it? Uh, my browser is so annoying. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I found the footnote. The authors would like to emphasize that we are extremely appreciative of the financial contributions made by the relatively small number of individuals whose efforts currently sustain key work within our field. And extremely appreciative is highlighted in bold. So they're not serious. You know what is serious though? There's like that galaxy called Sirius, I think. Is there a galaxy called Sirius or was that a planet? No, I think it's a moon. There's a moon called Sirius, right? Sorry, I'm recovering from an illness. So I'm a little stupid right now. Which is why I'm also not up to par on my humor, which is why this video isn't funny, even though okay, enough. Um, yeah. I mean, also look at the conflict of interest declaration. What is the Oh yeah, they're saying that there is definitely a conflict of interest. But cryptocurrency is like practically dead. Like this would have been funny in like 2021. We're a few years late, so I can't give it higher than 2 frolic. Are they committing to the bit? I would say there's not that much of a bit to commit to, but yeah, anything that has appendices will by default score high. And they're even proposing further coins, so obviously full marks there for the bit commits. That being said, I didn't find it that funny. Like it's satire and it's ironic, sure, but sometimes I just want to laugh and not think about the state of the world. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I feel old admitting that counterculture makes me tired. Maybe I am old. Yeah, so four humor is the highest that I can give, and I'm not giving that three fish. Them using this techie font throughout charmed me though, so you get five texture. I'm so biased, but that's what you like me for. We are officially in the double digits unless I can't count. Paper 10 is called Calculation, Reentry Impact Risk to Livestock in the Satellite Mega Constellation Era by Samantha M. Lawler, Michelle T. Bannister, and Laura E. Revel. They're from New Zealand, so this is not Ohio. We are not Ohio. We are not Ohio Sigma Res. I don't think I should have said that. Yeah, this paper calculates the probability and the impact it would cause if a satellite hit a cow in New Zealand. Which, while this might seem like a bananas premise, space debris has hit farmland before, though from the sources cited by the paper, it appears no cows nor humans were harmed, which is good. Space debris are supposed to burn up in the atmosphere, however, so a purely probabilistic approach seems lacking, but what do I know? Especially considering the paper mentions something called Kessler syndrome? I think it's Kessler syndrome. I think it is. Which from reading the Wikipedia articles, when space junk grows exponentially due to more and more collisions in space. And because that's very much not intended, it's obviously hard to predict to how that space junk would behave upon re-entry. Hence why this paper exists in a way. I should drink water, but there's a bit here later. Um, the puns in this one are terrible and I'm giddy over it. I feel like I should declare a conflict of interest because I would agree to have my research funded with New Zealand cheese. And that's exactly what the authors claimed happened here. In any case, 5 out of 5 humor. This is amazing. One of the section titles is No Use Crying Over Spilled Milk. Like, that's amazing. I get that that's a popular expression. In a scientific paper, that's amazing. Props to you. You get 5 fish. I owe you 5 fish. If you're the author and you're watching this, I owe you 5 fish. I don't know how that would work logistically. It's also incredibly creative and clearly a product of these authors' love for their homeland of New Zealand, except the first author, who's from Canada. I don't know what she's doing on this paper. Anyways, this is endearing. This is incredibly funny and endearing. 5 out of 5 frolic. Considering there's only one equation, the highest woe I can give is 2, but that does not speak to a lack of trying. The bit commitments is off the charts, and this is clearly incredibly well researched, with so far as the authors admitting where their research falls short in saying a citation is needed for the fact that cows take up more area than humans. 4 out of 5 bit commits. Texture is where I start having a problem because not only are some cheeses just awful, I mean, brie cheese is not real cheese, and I have personal qualms with many types of dairy, but this paper overuses footnotes. Like, what are we doing? Just cite sources normally. There's no need for a footnote for everything. It's annoying, but I can see why it's done. So I'm not going to be too harsh and give it a 3 on texture. Even though brie cheese can literally rot in hell. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not religious. But brie cheese? Don't. Let's not give brie cheese any funding. I'm academia themed, so whenever I don't like something, I'm just gonna say that I don't want it to get any funding. Anyways, paper 11 is called A Preliminary Theory on Infantile Dynamics, of Infantile Dynamics, I apologize, by Lema. Um, And this paper talks about the entropy that children can cause. As a former child myself, I feel a little called out, but all right, we ball. This paper derives two or three key results, two or three. Six, seven. The infantile recurrence theorem stating even if you can restore things to order, the infant will move the state back to disorder periodically, which is of course consistent with the second result, that being household entropy tends to increase. Of course, there are things a caregiver can do to slow or even temporarily decrease the entropy locally. But due to the third result slash postulation of the Maxwell-Demon hypothesis, that entropy locally changes according to changing rules, a global decrease remains impossible. So woeful, I literally cannot understand the math. But it's not like I have any credentials to be doing this in the first place. Still though, 5 low. Author clearly has a child, so I'm not going to judge this paper too harshly, even though Gemini is literally credited for insightful discussions. Which, like, arXiv already has, like, half a problem with AI articles. Like, they did a survey on how much people hated AI articles. So it's probably, like, half a problem at the very least. Yeah, I'm not gonna be too harsh over that. Like, this is a joke paper. I don't care. Baby demon comments were funny though. I'll give four fish for humor. Can't say it's not been thought of before though, even with last year's papers about cats. It's not 2025 anymore, unfortunately. I'm not gonna do coverage on that, but I don't know, go read them. Feel bad for giving any less than two on Frolic, so have a three. It's also, again, clearly well researched, so high committance, but also, I'm biased because I had to learn about intrinsic motivation for last recap, so I'll give it four on commitments. The dedication to all caregivers is really nice. That was really nice. I applaud that. That was kind. This paper is mostly mathematical proofs, so it's hard to ascribe a texture to it. I think pie crust or crumble would be a good analog for how much italics are used in maths generally. I don't think that's commentary though, but math. We love math around here. I say while having literally no light behind my eyes. This paper takes itself surprisingly seriously too, so I think I'll be generous and give five texture, even though I didn't really know how to eat this, because again, I can only count to four. I had to get my wonderful co-conspirator to dish out all the five fish ratings. But I'm the only person who runs this YouTube account. So I don't know. I just said that. I just said that. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to make things up because I'm pretty. Paper 12 is called A Lower Bound on the Number of Fundamental Constants by William Luke Matthewson. Three first names. Three first names, y'all. Um, Yeah, so this paper, as stated in the title, puts a lower bound on the total number of physical constants needed to describe the universe. This is bordering on commentary territory. Okay, you could have phrased that way better. To past me, you could have phrased that better. That was annoying to read. Because every time I go on physics YouTube, there's some kind of mysticism about the fine structure constant or the anthropic hypothesis or anything of the sort. And to all that, I just have to say, if you're gonna joke, put in the legwork. I did kind of like figure one though. It makes you think about the concept of relationships and romance. Which, to be fair, physics people can't pull. So maybe that commentary was unintentional. And this is a self-call out. At least the paper has the heart to admit that putting a lower bound on something for the first time is easy. That the constant derived, which corresponds to the number of physical constants needed for a full theory, is called neon. It's this Korean symbol for I don't know why I'm pointing there. It's probably not gonna be over there. It's probably gonna be over here. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Yeah, it's the Korean symbol for N. I studied Korean really briefly, and it sounds like Nyan, which I applaud. Probably wasn't intentional though. I don't think the author understands the dynamics of catboy culture. Um, I'm personally attached to the idea of using non-Western characters in science. So, for frolic for this. Interestingly enough, there seems to be quite the overlap between astrophysics and linguistics, since the author appears to be familiar with the International Phonetic Alphabet. This paper could have done more in terms of science, though. I get that proof is left to the reader and stuff, but I don't know. Could have made something up. A lot of these papers make things up. Like you could have put in the legwork. You should have put in the legwork. I'm just saying. Luckily, not having much meat means there's nothing to dread. So 2-0. Two fish of woe. There is once again not much of a bit to commit to. This paper does what it sets out to do and does so fine for the level of seriousness needed here. That being said, unserious doesn't mean funny. I think we can all learn from that. Me included. This video is not funny. I can distill exactly two jokes, which is also the humor score this paper is getting. I'm realizing now that maybe it makes sense to just leave bit commitments out of the equation for papers like this, but unfortunately I'm too far gone. Two there as well. There's also no color. I know color is in the metric, but there's no color at all, not even in the reference links. This makes the paper have the texture of foam. It's not unpleasant, but if it's in a beverage, I'd prefer the beverage over the foam. So three fish. And yeah, uh, the next paper isn't the beverage, unfortunately. But it is quite heavy, so maybe it is the beverage. Next paper is called Lots of Shade on Satellite Constellations by Michael B. Lund of Caltech. Apparently, he's an editor at Acta Prima Aprilia. Or maybe he made that up. Making things up is allowed. It's April 1st, even though it's April 12th right now. I am horrendously late. Again, I apologize. This paper talks about something really similar to the first cow paper, and yes, there's gonna be another one actually. How many satellites are in low Earth orbit? While yes, this in itself is a problem, this paper proposes we learn to adapt to our circumstance and accept our fate. Like a fish in the jaws of a cat. That was really forced. That's not a good joke. I should have edited that out, but I don't proofread. I know how to read. If we keep launching satellites into orbit, we may be able to block out the sun. Because the rate of satellite launch is confirmed to be super exponential, we may be able to outpace temperature increase due to climate change. If there's no light source to heat us, then where are we going to get the temperature from? Something to think about. Yeah. Granted, we're all going to be depressed zombies, but what's a little vitamin D deficiency when this is basically the premise behind becoming a Type 3 civilization? Like Dyson spheres and stuff. Dyson spheres. Can this door shut up? I probably shouldn't be leaning on it. Um, Scores. I've seen real papers do this with their titles, so immediately high woe. Absolutely dreadful pun. I know I complimented the the first cow paper for using a common idiomatic expression as a section title. That was a reference. This they just made it up. He just made it up.
which is why it's a dreadful pun. And you get high woe. You get a 5 out of 5 woe. And also, the general topic is kind of sad. I mean, you don't really get to joke about climate change when you're privileged enough to waste time writing an April Fool's paper. So yeah, we're woe maxing. I don't think I've been smiling enough in this video. But smiling doesn't come naturally to me. Like, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing this. I was laughing my head off when I was reading these papers. I'm just not really good at smiling. They're citing The Simpsons. Other than that, the text is soaking with sarcasm. The author is clearly done, and I applaud people who choose to work through being absolutely done. Meaning this paper gets a high bit commit score of 4 fish, the highest I can canonically give. For the humor and frolic scores, I want to note this paper is kind of doomery. Yeah. That being said, it's doomery in a self-aware way, but that doesn't change the fact it's more commentary than humor, so I can't give it any higher than 2 for humor. This is very original, though, I'll admit. It's like fighting fire with fire, and for that, it has a texture of hot sauce and a frolic score of 5. I do like hot sauce, but the texture of any sauce is viscous liquid, and nobody likes viscous liquid. I do like hot sauce, though. I really like hot sauce. It does get a boost in the texture department for following the Actiprima Aprilia like journal format, though. So you get a 3 out of 5 fish for texture. We're like halfway. We're more than halfway done. The next paper, the 14th paper, is No Hair But Plenty of Feathers. Are Birds Black Holes? By Andrew. Do I have to? By Andrew Lager. It's okay, it's spelled Laeuger. What am I supposed to do with that? Andrew Lager and Taylor Knapp. Taylor Knapp is citing their cat as an acknowledgement in the acknowledgement section, which is really cool. Have y'all heard of that author who cited his cat as a co-author because he wrote we instead of I throughout? I feel like everybody knows about that by now, though. So I'm not that funny. I'm sorry. This paper also, once again, proves that astrophysics people and linguistics people overlap a lot because the first line in this abstract is the imitative verb chirp is thought to originate from 16th century Middle English. Meanwhile, the same word has been used to describe the gravitational waves emitted from the merger of compact objects such as black holes and neutron stars since at least the 1990s. That's linguistics. That's just linguistics. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so this paper proposes that birds actually have black holes in their skulls. And the merging of these black holes is what produces the sounds birds make. The evidence is actually surprisingly compelling. Reversing a bird's chirp produces a waveform quite similar to the gravitational waves from a binary black hole merger, a wonderful callback to the second paper. Though this would imply birds have the capacity to somehow reverse these gravitational wave signals, either by reversing the merging, so splitting a black hole in two, or reversing time. Which honestly, given what this paper proposes, isn't that far out of the realm of possibility. Honestly, let them have this. Um, could have been higher on woe, but the premise is funny, and so is the classification into biological physics. On a prose level, it is incredibly dense and has the texture of brownies if they were vanilla flavored, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but in my mind, texture and flavor aren't separate things. So the bitterness of the chocolate of brownies contributes to their texture. But without that bitterness, like that is what this paper is. Also, the graphs are very pretty. I love spectrogram graphs. Yeah. Also, the fact that Taylor Knapp is acknowledging that her cat is moving. It changed my life. Hence, High Frolic. I know it's been done before, again, with the I don't remember that cat's name. I remember the author's name. I don't remember the cat's name. This is so embarrassing. FDC Willard. By was the pen name of Chester, a Siamese cat used on several papers written by his over J.H. Hetherington in his physics journals. In physics journals, don't ask why I have the Wikipedia page for FDC Willard open. I'm just like that. I'm just based. I'm just cute. I still have cat. Oh gosh, I still have cat ears on. It feels too late to take them off now. My grandma will see this. Oh, we bawled so hard we forgot to remove the bit. Anyways, um, yeah, they committed to the bit so hard they went outside, which has to count for something, right? Like to record the chirps, they had to go outside. And that's a higher bit commitments than I would be willing to do. Yeah. Humor is derived mainly from the premise, which is confusing at best, but does have that I'm so random kind of vibe, so I can't give it any lower than a 4. It has birds are actually government drone vibes, which I'm not sure on which social media platform that originated, but it got picked up by Tumblr. So I'm allowing myself to say it has I'm so random vibes. Oh, my battery's at 66%. Oh, it was on 67% for so long. And I didn't get to mention it because I was talking. Oh, just pretend I made a 6-7 joke like a minute ago. Um, the next paper. Ooh, wait, this one is 16 pages long. It's called AI cosplaying as astrophysicists, a controlled synthetic. I can't talk today. This is so frustrating. AI cosplaying as astrophysicists, a controlled synthetic agent study of AI-assisted astrophysical research workflows by Chen Huang. Not the cosplayer slander, first of all. Like, what are we doing? Anyways, I'm going to omit giving a recap of this paper just to add to the humor. I'm embarrassed. A 5 on Woe just because I don't want to think about AI taking my jobs anymore. I'm going to take its job. I'm thirstier than I thought I was. This will be on the public internet. Me chugging water. I hate this. Also, I'm pretty sure they used AI art, so boo! One for frolic. Go outside, touch grass. Anyways, this paper has no business being as long as it is. If I want to laugh, I don't want to use my brain. If I wanted to read a 16-page long paper, I'd be working on the March recap. 2 for texture. It's like bacon. And I have personal qualms with a lot of things that are oily or greasy, but bacon tastes good. So it's not a 1 for texture, it's a 2 for texture. Plus, bacon, it's possible to salvage bacon. Like you can make it crispy. There's not necessarily much of a bit, but what it does have, it commits to. So I'd actually wager giving it a 3. Humor is non-existent, though. Did I accidentally pick a real paper? I accidentally picked a real paper. This is humiliating. I like the quip of chugging water, though, so I'm leaving this in. Yeah, sorry. You get a 1 for humor just because you're not an April Fool's paper. It's a little concerning that AI slot made its way into a real paper, though. Yeah. I I read that's part of the script. That's part of the script. That was not me doing a live reaction of realizing I picked a real paper, but I really like that quip with me chugging water. This is not a sponsor for this water. But this water is called Aura water, and I do have Aura. I look greasy, I think. I think I look a little greasy right now. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We ball. Hype moments and Aura. In all seriousness, this paper talks about how AI can help with various tasks in astrophysics, and it compares not only types of usage, cautious overuse and balance, but also tasks that the AI can complete. Results were also grouped by career stage, and the results show that overwhelmingly, derivation slash reasoning tasks were where AI would have the least utility. Not only that, but because these tasks were where it's most prone to hallucination, aka making things up, using it for such tasks would be actively detrimental since researchers would have to spend time correcting the mistakes. This is evident by figure 3. Although the results are shown for cautious AI use, and my hypothesis would be these results would have much more variability for overuse. While it only gives effectively averages, figure 6 does like confirm more or less this common sense hypothesis. This more or less common sense hypothesis that overuse would prove less utility and higher error. It also compared utility between Quen and DeepSeek, with DeepSeek outperforming Quen as evidenced by Figure 5. So you do learn things on this channel. I'm not just a talking head that entertains you. I'm, please. You're learning something, right? You're not. Figures paper 16. Sorry, I'm not used to getting to 16 papers in one video. So it's a little weird saying paper 16, which is why I screwed that up. Um From astronomy to astrology, testing the illusion of zodiac-based personality prediction with machine learning by Avina Sundar Samatare et al. Et al. Is doing a lot of heavy lifting. As always. This paper talks about how zodiac signs and personality traits correlate. Spoiler alert, they don't. The descriptions are so overbroad that it's confirmation bias doing all the heavy lifting, even though I am a textbook Aquarius. I am a textbook. I'm just like I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry for being quirky and having a personality. Okay, I'm sorry. Don't sue me. I don't have legal funds. Don't sue me. But hey, it uses machine learning to confirm it, which is pretty cool. And the results in this absolute landslide of a figure. I mean, look at this. This is the no correlation meme in scientific figure format, even though the meme itself is probably ripped from a textbook or something. Anyways, tech bros and horoscope girlies are two sides of the same coin, in my opinion, and I've been both, so I can talk. If I couldn't talk, I wouldn't be filming. Anyways. I can't say it's not been done before. For this, I'm inclined to give it low frolic, but I do appreciate the commentary on the fact that there's so much machine learning in astronomy, which honestly like based. Like we love research AI over here. We just don't like language models and slop. Unless it's comedy slop, which this whole video is comedy slop, I think. I have a lot to say. But I'm a physics channel, so I'm not gonna say it. Yeah, then again, that might just be a product of circumstance, considering the year. Uh, Feels like a 3 for Frolic is fair. The title makes you think there's going to be some astronomy, but there isn't. For this, it gets 2 for Bitcoins. Two. Two. I can count. Not one because they really seem to try to find some kind of correlation, which I applaud. Again, as a former astrology girly, the metro, retrograde, Mercury retrograde flag made me laugh. This is honestly kind of real research in a way, but it doesn't take it seriously. And I didn't sigh when I realized I have to read this, so like 2 for woe. The texture is a bit confusing. It feels like rolling marbles around in your mouth. But I do like that the researchers seem to have reached on an agreement on what Acta Prima Aprilia, the journal's format should be. I'll give it a 4 for texture. Ooh, I like the next paper. I really like the next paper. It's called On the Detection of DiGiorno-like objects in the flavor zone. I'm sorry. I'm not like Italian. So I might be saying DiGior di I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying. By Logan Pierce? Pears? Pearce. Pears? And pseudonym. Um, Baking a pizza with the help of the sun or any other suitable star that doesn't have anything orbiting in the so-called flavor zone is what this paper proposes. Now, theoretically, any zone can be the flavor zone if you remove the pizza or, sorry, DiGiorno. I wrote Diorgino in my script. I'm not Italian. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not being Italian. I hope you can forgive me. I wrote Giorgino in my script. DiGiorno-like object, if you remove it quickly enough. Any zone can be the flavor zone. Although that's my own comments. However, if the cooking time is sufficiently long, retrieval may be a problem. This is why we need to be able to detect such Giorgino-like objects. Okay, I'm starting to think the problem might not be me not being Italian, it might just be the fact that I can't read. I've not read any of the books back here. I can read, I promise. I promise. Unfortunately, this is shown to be mostly impossible since DLOs aren't very reflective. I would also like to comment on the fact that this is actually peak commentary on how only research that institutions ideologically agree with gets funding. Since while the authors considered adopting a Hawaiian pizza model, they were afraid of controversy. I say never be afraid of who you are, unless who you are is somebody who likes brie cheese. In that case, become me. You feel me? Yeah. Never be afraid to like Hawaiian pizza. Hawaiian pizza lives matter. Sorry, that's overdone. Um, what have we got in science into? They're not even citing any sources. What has science come to? How am I supposed to work in this field when I'm older? Okay, that's overdone. That's also overdone. I'm not funny. I mean, actually, like they're not citing any sources because they think real scientists don't want their work associated with this mess, which is fair, but I would like to take this opportunity to say if I'm ever allowed past the fiery gates of academia, I would be flattered if my work is cited by an April Fool's paper. Just to have that on record, you know? Um, all right. I don't know why I'm surprised at this, but the jargon is just so spot on from what little I do know about the research space. Get it? Because we're talking about astrophysics. So it's space. Get it? Please laugh. I tried really hard. I'm trying really hard. And I have to comb through like 1,000 papers twice for paper selection each month. One of the authors appears to be a pizza since she works at 888 Cheese and Sauce Road. I think there might be ethical implications with sending your co-author into this flavor zone around a star, but I'm not a lawyer. So I don't know. Maybe there's not ethical implications. Maybe that's fine. I don't think. Okay. This is probably the funniest we're gonna get. So 5 on humor. Future work and references sections are amazing and scrumptious. Let me read them to you if I can figure out how to scroll a PDF with our mouse. I'm sorry, I know how to code, but I don't know how to scroll without a mouse. I'm pathetic. Anyways, future work and recommendations. Recommendations: do not attempt to search for ATI in the form of DLOs. Future work: none. Don't do this. Also references. We do not include formal references and the assumption that authors of those real legitimate works don't want their work tied to this nonsense. Honestly, that's kind of base. That's kind of woke. Um, so is the texture of this paper is also scrumptious. A light hand-tossed dough upon which rests a basin of sauce and cheese. I ate pizza today. I think that's like amazing method acting on my part. The things I do for you people. Um, so another 5 there for texture. Surprisingly easy to understand maths, but I can't give it less than 3 woe in good faith. No, higher than 3 woe, because woe is good. I don't know why I wrote less. I think subconsciously I think woe is bad, but woe is good. I need to retrain myself to think that woe is good. So another 5 for frolic. They're making things up, and this has never been done before. Unfortunately, there's no plans for an experiment, so only 2 for bit commits. Not 1 because of the simulated JWST data. Despite clearly stating that nobody should ever do this. I feel the authors think it'd be funny if this was done as part of a larger, actually valuable mission. I don't think I should ever be allowed into academia because I would do this. I'm a bad person. I'm sorry. Paper number 18. Sugar Rush: Improving Observing Productivity by Night Dessert by J.J. Charfman-Jr., S. Hyman, and NTS. Of the Department of Astronomy and Stewart Observatory. Is that in Ohio? Can somebody fact check if that's in Ohio? Also, I'm just noticing that this is volume 12 of Acta Prima Aprilia. Has this been going on for 12 years? That it's awesome if it's been going on for 12 years. I'm just like in a little bit of a disbelief. Anyways, um, have you seen that video about cursed units? Because this reminds me of that. This is a recipe for a chocolate chip cookie done in such cursed units as terawatt hours. Angstroms, is it Armstrongs? The A with the little dot over it. I don't know. Angstrom squared, and I can't even read some of these. MPG? Is MPreg a unit now? What's a barn? Oh, okay, I know what a barn is. Okay, I'm not that much of city trash, but in context of units, like what's a barn? Also I'm incredibly curious about the history of centigrade now. What is this? What did this Jean-Pierre Christin guy do? Also, while legally speaking, I'm probably like not covered by this. I'm glad they put a proceed with caution at the end. I would either screw up the conversions catastrophically and flood my kitchen with chocolate chips or burn said kitchen down. So I'm glad they told me not to do that explicitly. Thank you, authors. Thank you. Um, this is a recipe, not a research paper. If it were a research paper, I'd have laughed because I feel incredibly called out by the title. I'm not sure how to rate this. It commits to a bit, that being the bit of submitting a recipe to arXiv. It's just not really the bit I expected. But I'm trying to be objective, so I'll give it a 4 and leave y'all to fight about it in the comments. Give me that sweet engagement, please. I really like attention. I go outside in my cat ears sometimes. That's just how much I like attention. In any case, it's just adapting an existing recipe. I feel like more research could have been done in that direction, like making a real recipe. Like again, if you're gonna joke, put in the legwork. Um, so yeah, I can't give it any higher than 3 for frolic. I don't like cookies. So personally, I would have given this like a 2 for texture. But I'm trying to be objective, and an objective version of me would also have given it 2. I don't care. I hate lists. Texture is primarily a metric of the prose, and this has no prose because it's poetry to my ears. No, because it's a list. No woe though, since again this is not a research paper, and hence it cannot evoke the dread of one. One fish for woe. And overall, a 3 for humor. The gimmick is using sciencey units for a non-sciencey thing, but that doesn't do much for me, I think. On paper 19, Plan 9, detecting atmospheric deterrence against interstellar monsters. I feel like I forgot to mention that these joke papers are primarily in the astrophysics community and not generally physics, which is a little concerning. I think if anything, the condensed matter people deserve to have fun. The astrophysics people get to look at pretty pictures of space all day. I don't think they should be allowed any more fun. I think we should stop letting them have fun. I think. I don't know, I could be wrong. Anyways, Plan 9, Detecting Atmospheric Deterrence Against Interstellar Monsters by David R. Rice and Michael J. Radke. Radke? Radke. Garlic. This paper talks about how advanced civilizations might use garlic to deter people or monsters. It's dark forest hypothesis stuff from thinking they're intelligent because no intelligent species would coat their entire planet in garlic just for that. Full disclosure, this deterrence would not work on me. I would, I love garlic bread. I'm saying that here because I ripped this paper to shreds in terms of texture, not in a good way, but I love garlic bread. This paper also talks about other things, but I'm too entranced by the garlic bread. There's not even in bread in here, just vibes. Hype moments and aura and stuff, you feel me? I like garlic bread. I like garlic bread a lot. Ooh, it's like ASMR. Um, right off the bat, full marks on committance for the journal format. I don't know. I think that's really cute. That's still not worn off on me. Not much else going for this paper though. I dreaded reading this, not only because of its length, but also because this was incredibly confusing. Like, okay, I understand why leading sections for joke papers need to be long. It's to set up the joke and justify the paper's existence, but almost 2 pages long, 5 woe. I did not want to read this. Despite this, I'd wager giving it at least like a 4 on humor. This paper really wants to be real, and I feel like it could trick the unsuspecting reader, which is hilarious. I should send this to my science friend and see if it tricks them. I don't have a science friend. I don't have friends. For Frolic, I must bring up Tumblr once again because this feels like a reference to that one post about creating a baseball bat that can deter all mythological beings. And even though it is a reference, that elite ball knowledge behind it makes me want to give this like 4 Frolic. Unfortunately, this is where the goodness ends. This paper has no texture. It's like biting into that concrete burger from SpongeBob. Why are the figures that color? A genuine question, by the way. I've never seen a figure be that color. One texture and go outside. Stop wasting time writing 9 pages minus references for a joke paper. You are an adult and you have better ways to spend your time. I understand that if you did not waste your time on this, I would not have anything to talk about. But I'm concerned. Like, this is 9 pages and you're citing a bunch of sources. Did you read all the papers you're citing too? Because if so, I'm very sorry. And I hope you recover. Um, the next paper is Where to Search for Life. Evidence from narrative sources would establish predictive efficacy by Stanway Elizabeth R. And I just want to start this off by with a footnote. See, Stanway Elizabeth R. is affiliated with the Centre for Exoplanets and Habitability and Department of Physics, University of Warwick, UK. And there's a footnote there, footnote 1. Although they may disown me after this. I think that sums this paper up. This paper talks about using science fiction to search for extraterrestrial life. This author has sorted through a bunch of science fiction magazines for mentions of constellation names, and that's like really beautiful. Like, thank you for taking this upon yourself, Stanway. We applaud that. We should give her grant money to continue this research, especially since one of the stated limitations is that early science fiction magazines also published real science explanations sometimes, which of course skews results. Considering science fiction has predictive power, but science explanations don't. The world is backwards. We need to flip the world upside down. For woke. We need to trans the world. Um, Also, let's collectively thank the Internet Archive for facilitating this research by providing the magazines. Thank you, Internet Archive. We love archives over here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I retract any statements and any criticisms I have had about length ever because the cadence with which this paper carries itself is unparalleled. This is most evidenced in Appendix A, but again, the whimsy starts in the first footnote. This author understands how to balance giving actual knowledge. There's a pretty cool account of science fiction history, and I learned a bit about early sci-fi magazines, which just makes things up. We're just making things up, and it's beautiful. No woe, all frolic. This is amazing. Um, the bit is also being committed to wonderfully. I mean, really, this is a data analysis project presented as an April Fool's paper, so 5 fish there. Interestingly enough, the very first paper we talked about also comes up here since the genitive forms of constellations were also considered. Texture-wise, I'd give it a 4. I'm sorry, a 5. I can't count. I can't count. I give it a 5. I'm sorry, I'm playing favorites. But you need to understand the horrors of authors who do not understand color theory, and Stanway is not one of them. Beautiful figures. Beautiful figures. It's not very funny, though. There are very few quips here. And they're particularly in the footnotes, but everything this paper does right is covered by the other metrics, so 2 out of 5. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You tried. You get a gold star for trying to be funny. I get a gold star for trying to be funny too, but nobody's gonna give me a gold star. I'm really lonely. Um, Paper 21. is called Higher Multiples of the Cow by Benjamin V. Lemon. Lehman? Not lemon as in the citrus. Lehmann. Lehman? I'm so sorry. I'm bad at this. I should not be allowed to do journalism. Is this journalism? This is not journalism. Who am I kidding? Um, why is there a journalist? Five, whoa, and I've not even read the paper yet. Sorry, what are we doing? Why are we letting the bit breach containment? This is betrayal. Okay, fine. I actually did read the paper, and I'm on the verge of disqualifying it for being actual science. I'll lessen the woe by one, even though I groaned when I saw the topic, that being the spherical cow approximation. But considering that it's apparently being used, like on Google Scholar, this is news to me. I was prepared to give it one frolic for how overdone the spherical cow is, but look at this figure and tell me it doesn't make you want to spin around. She looks so soft. For frolic. Also, the treatment of gravitational waves was oddly insightful. I'm ashamed at how much I learned. Oh, yeah, there's gravitational waves. Did I mention that? I don't want to do my job. Just read the paper. It's fascinating. This is actually just valid math and valid science. So I feel like I have to give five fish for big commitments. Texture is also five fish. I know, I'm playing favorites again, but you cannot tell me you wouldn't laugh seeing this in the middle of a paper. That's a lot of nines. That's more knives than GitHub has uptime of. I'm sorry, that was unnecessary. And of course, five humor. This was really fun. This was really fun. Um, the leaderboard is somewhere on screen. And I just have to say, it's a little special to me that the last paper is the one that ranked highest. I did not intend that. I sorted these papers based on where they came up in my arXiv search query. So they're in order of when they were submitted. Like, I'm actually getting a little sentimental over how well that turned out, even though I had to, um, make woe a positive metric for that to work. I'm really sorry. I rigged this. I rigged this. Um, I should not be allowed into academia. I'm sorry. It's really hard for me to not eat this microphone right now. It looks so soft. It looks just as soft as this damn cow. But I should not do that because it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna taste good. Also, that's not something that I want on the internet of me eating a microphone. I don't want that to be on the internet. Overall, I hope my debt is settled. I hope you can forgive me, and I hope I get like 4 subscribers from this video so I can start doing live streams here instead of trying to herd y'all over to my Twitch. Also, yes, the live stream did not happen. I got sick. Is that proof enough for you? I feel like the fact that I couldn't count properly in this video was proof enough for you. This was really fun. I'm glad I did this. I hope this was fun for you too. If you're watching this while falling asleep, then good night. Thank you. I love you. Bye.